Hello and welcome back to the channel. And if you are listening on the podcast, hello, welcome to another episode of Going Beyond with Brittany. Today's going to be a bit of a longer episode. I'm doing a little bit of a deep dive today, so I might split this up into two videos. I haven't decided yet. It'll really just kind of depend on the length of this video. But yeah, let's jump into it. I'm really excited. I'm going to be talking about the ego today. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the ego today. I feel as though the ego is really misunderstood in the spiritual community. It's really misunderstood in society as a whole. And in my opinion, New Age spirituality has kind of turned into its own religion. And I believe that there are truths within all religion, but I do believe that religion, unfortunately, the messaging has been skewed with time. Like the true meaning of some of these topics has been skewed over time. And hold on, I'm going to have some water here. I really see that in the spiritual community, specifically talking about the ego today. I feel as though it's not talked about in the way that it should be. I think that it is really misunderstood, and I kind of want to talk about it. I want to talk about what I've learned, because over the last couple of years, I've learned a lot about the ego through experience. The universe has really put me through these experiences where I feel as though I've been able to see and understand the ego in a very different way. And I really feel called to speak of it. You know, with that said, I'm still learning. There's still a lot to learn, I'm sure. But I'm really excited to share what I've learned today. Or I'm excited to share with you today what I've learned up until this point in my life about the ego. So diving in, if you see me looking down here, it's because I have just some notes just to make sure I stay on track, because like I said, I'm doing a little bit of a deep dive today. I'm diving in a little bit deeper. So this is going to be more of a longer form video. So yeah, get excited. I was going to say get comfy, but excited just came out. So get excited, get comfy, whatever you're doing today, day, afternoon, morning, evening. I hope that you're having a great day. I hope you had a great day. I hope you're having a great day. And I hope you have a great day, depending on when you're listening to this. But yeah, let's jump in. So talking about the ego, what is the ego exactly? What is the ego? So the ego is the aspect of the mind that mediates between the conscious and unconscious realms, helping to navigate the complexities of the self and the world. And essentially, the ego, in my opinion, is what makes us human. The ego is really a huge part in what makes us human. Without it, we wouldn't be able to have this experience here on earth, because our souls chose to come down here. Our souls chose to have a human experience in a physical body. And in order to do that, we need the ego. It's really what gives us our sense of individuality. It gives us our sense of identity. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later. But the ego is actually really, really beautiful. It's so beautiful. We need it to experience this wonderful life that we're having right now. And again, I feel like the ego is demonized. It's demonized. And I think that we really need to start looking at it differently, because a lot of people are not reflective. A lot of people on this earth are not reflective of their ego. A lot of people think they are. But there's a really big lack of awareness surrounding the ego. And I think part of that reason is because people demonize the ego. And as a result of that, people feel as though it's harder to be reflective with something that's so heavily demonized, because it requires, I want to say, demonizing yourself in a way, which is probably the reason why there's so much resistance around it, because we shouldn't be demonizing it. We shouldn't be demonizing ourselves. We shouldn't be demonizing the ego. We really want to get to know this aspect of who we are, really understand it so that we could integrate it into our being. Because the ego is not something you can just eradicate. It's not something you can just get rid of. It's very much so a part of you, and it's a beautiful part of you. So best get to know it so that you can ensure that while you're riding through life, the ego has a seat next to you in the driver's seat and is not the one behind the wheel. Is not the one behind the wheel. I feel like 90 to 95% of people on this planet, their egos are in the driver's seat. Maybe not in all aspects of their life, of course, but for a good chunk of it. And there's just lack of awareness surrounding it. And I'm not blaming anybody. This is nobody's fault. It's, I want to say, society's fault as a whole, but really there are no fingers to point. There's nobody to blame. We chose to come on to this earth to experience polarity. Like, we literally came here to experience polarity. We came here to experience the darkness. We really came here to experience the darkness as much as we came here to experience remembering the light. Because essentially our soul is love. That is who we are to the core. The essence of every single one of us is love. I always say our soul is an extension of God, just as the ego is an extension of the devil. And I'm using this verbiage because it's the language that has been given to these grasp concepts that we can't really comprehend. Personally, I don't think God is a man in the sky looking down over us, just as, I don't think the devil is a man with a pitchfork in the pits of hell. I see them as polar energies, and both being a very necessary part of this experience. Without the dark, there wouldn't be the light. So yeah, I think it's really time for we stop demonizing it. But going back to what I was saying before about, the devil, God and the devil, like, our soul is love. God is love, pure and unconditional love. That is the essence of who we are. And we came here to remember that again, And it's beautiful. The process of remembering is so fucking beautiful. And everyone's path will look different. Everyone's path will look different depending on their lessons and their reasons as to why they chose to come down here. One is not better than the other. They're equally unique and beautiful and just different. And remember, we're here to experience the polarity. We are all one, right? We are all one. Essentially, like, we are all one cloth, and individually, we are the strands within the cloth. Like, I'm a strand in the cloth, you're a strand in the cloth, but essentially we're all the cloth. We're all one. So we are the universe, God, source, whatever it is you want to call it, experiencing ourselves. Like, we're experiencing ourselves in this illusion of individuality, which is really fun. And we wouldn't be able to do that without the ego. We wouldn't be able to experience this illusion of individuality if we didn't have the ego. So we really need to, again, start looking at it differently. So the ego, as I was saying before, it really gives us our sense of identity. It really creates our sense of self. It really, like me, Brittany. My name's Brittany. I'm 5'0". I really like Taekwondo. I love volleyball. I love spirituality. I love tarot cards. I love reading. I'm this, I'm that. I have this sense of individuality because my ego allows for it, and this experience allows for it. So, that's one thing. And yeah, anyways, I love the ego. My point is I love the ego. So let's learn about it a little bit more today. So just a few pointers of what the ego does and how it really helps us in our day-to-day life. So it helps individuals adapt their behaviors and responses to the demands of the external world. It really makes me think about the mind. Our mind likes to try to figure out everything, right? The mind wants to know what's going on in our lives. The mind is a part of this human our human vessel, this human body, and it helps us like navigate. It's kind of like our remote control system, for lack of a better word. It's like, I'm in my mind's eye, I'm seeing a video game, and it's what gets you to, oh, I need to go to the grocery store to buy food. Okay. Oh, I need to pay rent this month. It makes sure, it really makes sure that your basic needs are taken care of. And to me, the mind and the ego to me, the ego is what makes you human. The mind, it really is what makes us human. What navigates this experience. It's really what navigates this experience. And again, a really necessary part. Without the mind, we would be walking, like, what would we be doing if we didn't have a brain? You know what I'm saying? If we didn't have the mind, what would we be doing? What's interesting, though, is a lot of people feel as though the mind is the smartest aspect of our being, which is not the truth. We are energy beings first. We are spirit first before this body. The mind might be the most intelligent part of our physical. I don't even believe that. Let me explain a little bit. Like the mind is actually one of the most inexperienced parts of our being, because our soul, think about it, energy has never been created nor destroyed. Energy has never been created or destroyed. So you have been around since the dawn of time. You have been around in some form since the dawn of time. And your soul, whenever that was created, has been around a lot longer than your physical body, than this physical body. Yes, our physical body is energy as well and has also been here since the dawn of time. But your soul has been through a lot of other lifetimes, has been through a lot of just other experiences that we don't remember in this experience because we choose to forget coming here, right? We choose to forget. So the mind really is one of the least experienced parts of our being, but we are taught to let the mind lead. The mind is really good at convincing us that it is the most intelligent part of who we are. And I mean, for this experience, the mind is key. The mind is really necessary. You get control of your mind. Oh, baby, does your life change. You get control of your mind, which I think is very much so associated with the ego, which is why I'm bringing up the mind. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more later. But the mind, if you get control of your mind, baby, whoa, will everything shift and change for you. The thing is the mind, which is there to, again, protect, likes to know everything, and it plans our future. It attaches onto ideas, and it's there for protection, so it's necessary. But because we haven't been taught about intuition, because people haven't been taught, that we're really energy beings first, we give too much power to the mind. And we disregard our intuition. We disregard those feelings that you can't put, a word to, those feelings you can't put a name on. And it's funny, one of the analogies and back to what I was saying before, really quick, because of our ego, often we have perceptions that are not rooted in truth, and the mind is skewed as a result of that. And I'm gonna talk about how we can bring these things to light so that we can remove those limiting beliefs from our being, those skewed perceptions from our being, so that we can access more love and freedom. But an analogy that was given to me, which is pretty funny, when it came through, it made me laugh. Spirit was like, they showed me a baby or a young child on the lap of their parent or a guardian or whoever, of an adult, in the front seat of a car. And you know how you let the child drive, and the child thinks it's driving. But really there's someone a lot bigger behind the child, somebody a lot bigger, really guiding the vehicle. Obviously you're not going to give total control to a child of a vehicle. So, but the child in that moment fully believes that it is the one steering the car. And it's cute, it's cute. And that's how the analogy was given is, our energy beings, our soul is really good at letting the mind think it's in control. It's really good at letting the mind think it's in control. because it needs to be, quote unquote, for this experience, but there is a greater power navigating things. There is a greater power trying to lead you in a certain direction. And we do have free will at the end of the day, which is why people do get stuck in these views that are misguided, these views that have a skewed perception. And another thing about the mind is the mind really was created for the present moment, right? Going back to the navigation system, like the remote control, like when you're playing a video game, you're focused on the here and the now and what's going on in the present moment for survival or whatever it is. In most video games, the control, at least, I mean, I'm no video game, like I don't really know much about video games, so maybe I'm wrong with this, but what I'm kind of getting here is in video games, at least, you use the remote control in the moment you're playing. The remote control is not used for like what's about to happen. You deal with that as you play. The mind is very much so created for the present moment and the present moment only, really. But again, because of the ego and because of so much fear that is perpetuated, most people are allowing the mind to steer and dictate future things, or they hold on to what they think the future should look like and this and that, and that causes actually a lot of resistance. It can cause more pain for people. We should be allowing our intuition to guide the future, because our intuition, our soul, right, our higher self actually has the ability to see more, has the ability to see past the mind. But the mind, the most limited part really of our being is trying to control it, which is silly. The mind was created for the here and the now, to be present and to be able to navigate the complexities of this reality in the present moment. So again, we just give too much control to the mind. I want to talk about defense mechanisms. The ego is there to protect us. So to protect the individual from experiencing overwhelming anxiety or distress, these mechanisms such as repression, denial, and rationalization operate unconsciously to manage internal conflicts and maintain psychological equilibrium. Like I said, in the present moment, if you're going to react to something, if you need to defend yourself, that's necessary for the here and the now. But sometimes when the ego is defensive, it's doing so to protect a person, but it might not necessarily be what is best for the person. For example, when a person lies about something, right? A person lies about something and you confront them about it and they get really defensive. They get really defensive right away. And it's like, oh my God, they're reacting so defensive. Why are you reacting so defensive? Clearly you're guilty. And then they lie about it. They're defensive and they lie about it. And they lie in that moment to protect them because their ego's like, oh, I don't want to get caught. I don't want to get in trouble, and instead of owning up to it and being honest, which often is the harder thing, it's, a defense. And that's just an example, but people do this with a lot of other things as well. And, I'll give more examples as I continue. And then the next thing about the ego, identity formation, which I kind of talked about a little bit before. The ego plays a pivotal role in the formation and maintenance of identity. It integrates various aspects of the self, including beliefs, values, experiences, and social roles into a cohesive and consistent sense of identity. So again, we are all one, but having this experience, we're given the illusion of separateness and the illusion of individuality. And we chose all of it before we came here, right? We chose our parents, we chose our location, our culture, all of the things. So these things within your life that give you this sense of identity, have fun with it. You chose it. I think it's a very, very beautiful part of the ego. So decision making, I kind of talked about this a little bit as well. By synthesizing input, both conscious awareness and unconscious impulses, the ego facilitates the decision making process. It weighs various options, considers potential consequences, and selects courses of action that align with the internalized values and external realities. And this is really important. This is so necessary. But again, going back to the present moment, it's like that going back to the remote control thing. It should be more so to make decisions in the here and now. Like, this is not me telling you not to have goals and not to plan anything for your future. However, we hold on to those things and we think we try to make a story up for our lives, what our lives is going to look like. And the ego, the mind, is not supposed to do that. It was not intended to do that, which is often why when people hold on to these things, there's so much resistance. And then the last little bit about the ego before we get into the next section here is adaptation and flexibility. The ego exhibits adaptability and flexibility in responses to changing circumstances and developmental changes. It navigates transitions and conflicts between internal needs and external demands, striving to achieve a sense of harmony and stability. This can get in the way, though, as I was saying before, because oftentimes, like, it thinks it knows best, out of fear, protection. Our soul is love at the end of the day. Our soul is love at the end of the day. That's where truth lies. The highest truth is rooted in love, the highest vibration, and that's the essence of our being. The ego, on the other hand, in my opinion, being an extension of the devil, is the polar of that, the opposite of that. So often lower vibrational things such as fear, and the ego will make decisions based off of fear. And I'm going to get into more examples of this, but a really quick one. When you see the world and whatnot, fear-based teachings lead to destruction. And I'm going to give you a really big example. When the Holocaust, back when the Holocaust happened, which is really not too long ago, who was in charge? Hitler. In my opinion, Hitler was the walking face of the devil. He was so in his ego, and a lot of his teachings were what? Fear-based. A lot of his teachings were fear-based. That's ego, that's woundedness, not rooted in truth, because it's not rooted in love. Only love is true, which is the essence of who we really are. And that's a really, really huge example. But a smaller example would be, I know for me personally, I went to university, I became a teacher, I went through all this schooling, and, I had my life set. I was going to be a teacher, and then I got into a master's program for counseling, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a counselor in the school system. And I was making these decisions for myself. Really not for myself. I was making these decisions out of fear, because what's taught and what's perpetuated is you need to set up your life now. If you don't go to university, you're not going to get a good job. You need a good job that has a pension. You need a good job that's consistent, that this, that, and blah, 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 blah. And it's a teaching rooted in fear. So I went after this teaching, did the thing, and on my journey, I realized this isn't actually what's most fulfilling for me. This isn't actually what's most fulfilling for me. If I were to listen to my intuition, my love, listen to my soul where love lies, I wouldn't be following a teaching that's rooted in fear, or in my area, or I could only speak for myself. For me, I realized that by me following the path I was following, I was blindly following it because I was unconsciously fearful. If I didn't do this, then I wouldn't have a good life. I wouldn't be happy. So I was searching for these things outside of myself. Not saying that school is completely bad. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I do believe that it's necessary for certain things, and I believe that some people go because they genuinely want to. But unfortunately, a big majority, they're pushed to go. And I was a teacher for 5 years, primarily high school, and this stuff is pushed in the school system, especially with the high school kids. Oh, we got to prepare you. We got to prepare you for the real world. Oh, we got to prepare you. What universities are you looking at? You got to prepare. You got to have a plan. You got to do this. You got to do that. And not that people are doing it consciously, they don't realize it, but they're perpetuating these fear-based teachings, and people are so lost as a result of it. People are so lost as a result. People are more disconnected now than we've ever been. And when I say disconnected from who we are. And again, who are we? We are love. Our soul is love. Our soul is love. Our essence is love. And we have become so disconnected from that a lot of people are really lost, and a lot of people are searching. And essentially, we only want love at the end of the day. We only want love at the end of the day because that's who we are, but we're taught to believe that love is scarce. Again, fear-based. We're taught to believe love is scarce and you need to find it, and we're taught to seek it outside of us, externally, when really it all starts within. It all starts within. But in order to get there, we need to be aware of these limiting beliefs perpetuated from the ego. We need to bring light to these things. And again, I feel like most people are very disconnected and living from the ego without realizing it. Talking about how we are love, and the ego essentially is screaming at us. It's the part within us that acts from fear. It acts out of wounds. It acts from those places. Let's say you have a wound, going back to the example I used earlier where somebody lies and then you confront them, or you confront somebody about something and they lie about it. They're acting from fear, probably from a wounded place, because maybe when they were a child, when they did something and they were honest about it, maybe they got really in trouble. Maybe they got reprimanded for it in a way that was a little traumatizing, something like that. And as a result of that wound within them, the ego is going to respond to protect them so that they don't repeat that experience again. And the ego there, operating from a wounded place, not truth, not love, I want to say operating from a place of, I don't want to say hatred, but the polar opposite of love. Really, that feeling, it's screaming to be loved. So the ego, when these things come forward, when triggers come forward, when we're feeling a certain way about something or whatever it may be, or when we're confronted with something like the example and you lie or whatever, that is your ego actually. Yes, it's trying to protect you, but if you're aware of it, it's really guiding you. It's really guiding you to the parts of you that need love. It's the parts of you that are missing love. So really, the ego, in my opinion, is just as much of a guidance system as your intuition, but just in a very human and different way. It's screaming at you, hey, see how uncomfortable the situation is making me right now? That there's a piece within you that needs love. There's something within you that needs love, that hasn't been given love. And until it's given love, I'm going to protect you so that you don't hurt from it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to protect you. So going back to the lying situation, if you're able to bring that to your awareness and be honest with yourself, okay, why did I lie? Even if telling the truth is sometimes harder, why did I do this? And you realize, and know that like the realizations might not come right away, but get curious about it, and ask. Don't be analytical about it, because again, the mind is going to try to make sense of it. The answers will just come to you. Get curious about it. And then when you're able to bring it to your awareness, that's when you're able to do something about it. So if, for example, it was, when you were a child, when you told the truth, you really got reprimanded for it. So now you're afraid to tell the truth. When you figure that out, in those moments where you're afraid to tell the truth, that's where you can give that part of you love. So that little part of you that was reprimanded and had a bit of a traumatic experience, you could say, honey, you didn't deserve to be treated that way for simply being honest. It took a lot of courage to be honest. Because do you know what? You knew that you made a mistake, and everyone makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Oh my God, Hannah Montana is coming to my head. It's okay. And you're able to comfort yourself, give yourself that love. So when it's looked at, the next time, something like that occurs, because you were able to give that piece of you love, you're able to react in a different way. And at the end of the day, like I said before, we're all just trying to find our way back homes to ourselves. We're all just trying to find our way back to love. And the ego is something that screams at you. It'll scream at you, hey, this part of me is not being given love. Look at me. I need you to see me. I need you to see me, because this is a part of you that's not true to who you are. Because it's not rooted in love. Who is your soul is love. This is a part of you that's not true to who you are. It's a part of you that's a mask. It's a part of you that's trying to protect you. And when you're able to bring this to your awareness, change and more joy and more love, you're making more space for love to come into your reality. Going back to what I was saying before, people are so disconnected now. As within, so without. Your internal world reflects your external state. And if you look at the world today, there's a lot of shit going on in the world. And I don't think you need me to tell you that, I don't think you need me to tell you that. But it's a reflection of the collective consciousness of the internal state of the collective. people are so disconnected now, and you see it outwardly. Earth right now, you've probably heard of 3D moving to 5D, or in religion they talk about the end of the world. That's what's happening right now. The world is coming to an end, not in a literal way. We are shifting from 3D to 5D, whatever it is you want to call it. Like, Earth is going through a death and rebirth right now, which is why a lot of people in their own lives are actually starting to go through, a death and rebirth as well. People are really starting to wake up. People are really starting to wake up to who we are, and remember. We are starting to remember as a collective, but you can see majority of people are still very much so in a state of like internal hell, because I also believe heaven and hell are states of being. They're not, a place. It's not a separate place. It's not a separate entity. It's not separate from us. It is us. And I believe that here on earth, we've all experienced, moments of heaven on earth, and we've all experienced moments of hell on earth, some more than others. And because we have free will, when we get stuck in these skewed perceptions and we're not aware of the ego, it really perpetuates this cycle of, harm, and it really perpetuates, just people remain in this cycle, and they're living essentially hell on earth. And that's changing, though. Earth is doing its shadow work, which is, talking about shadow work, which is a term often used in the spiritual community, which I'm going to kind of get into, because I'm going to talk about some of the misconceptions within the spiritual community. And if you haven't heard of shadow work before, it's essentially bringing to light shadow parts of you, like the ego, in my opinion, bringing these parts that you were unaware of to light so that you can heal them, so that you can bring love to them, so that you can rise, so that you can awaken, so that you can become more healed, so that you can become more connected with yourself and who you really are. And talking about the ego, in the spiritual community, I do think shadow work's important, whatever it is you want to call it. Some people are like, oh, I don't like the term shadow work. A lot of people are like, how do you even start with shadow work? Essentially, it's healing. It's healing, being on the healing journey. I think that the spiritual journey is, to me, the healing journey. The healing journey is a really big part of it. It's not, oh, let me manifest this, and I'm going to do this manifestation technique, and oh, I'm going to do this. No. The true path is the healing path. It's the healing path. And yes, healing's a forever journey. And we're always learning more and growing, but it's a big piece of the spiritual journey, which can and should look different for every single person. For me, spirituality, New Age spirituality, was a doorway to the true spiritual path, in my opinion. So I'm not trying to completely knock it, but again, even within the spiritual community, there's a lot of misguided teachings perpetuated because they're ego-based. They're ego-based. But yeah, the ego is really misunderstood and oversimplified in spiritual discourse. The ego is not inherently negative. But again, it's a very necessary part of this human psychology. And in the spiritual community, it's oversimplified as negative. Even people talking about ego deaths. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've used the term ego death because to me, an ego death, what that means is bringing a shadow, a dark part of you, a part that was perpetuating a false view to protect you. But it's bringing that to light, and it's acknowledging like, oh my gosh, this was not rooted in truth, so that you bring clarity to it, so your old perception kind of dies. But it doesn't necessarily mean eradicating the ego. It doesn't mean getting rid of it. It simply means, oh, I understand this piece of me now. Now I can integrate it. Because it's a part of me. I understand myself more. Now we can move forward, and we can move forward together. In the spiritual community, it's portrayed as negative. It's associated with arrogance, selfishness, and separation from higher truths or spiritual realities. This oversimplified view tends to depict the ego as something to be transcended or eradicated entirely in the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment or awakening. But again, going back to what I was saying before, it's literally just as much of a guidance system as our intuition. Just society as a whole, it's talked about, oh, such and such has such a big ego, or you can see their ego, and it's talked about in such a way. There's such a negative connotation surrounding the ego, and it's not that it's anyone's fault, because when the ego does show, it can look ugly, right? It definitely can look ugly. It's screaming at people, hey, this part of you has not been given love. And really, that's all everybody needs is love. So if there's a part of you that hasn't been given love, it's going to be an ugly part of you. But again, the discourse, the way it's talked about in such a negative light that people, as a result of that, people are not willing to be as reflective, because nobody's terrible. I believe that most people are, it's that question, are we born good? Are we born evil? Or how are we born? I think that most people are innately good, and the reason I say most, this is actually really interesting. I received a message a couple weeks ago that shook me. And it came through really strong that there are few souls, very, very few souls. And these souls that are very, very enlightened beings, souls that have been around a long, long, long time. Very few, they choose to come down here to bring polarity to earth. So they choose to be the face of the ego. They choose to be the face of the devil. And these souls choose that to bring polarity, which sucks. And I'm not saying it makes our actions okay, but we learn a lot through dark, unfortunately, and that's a part of this human experience and having this polarity and, all of that. So this is why I believe most souls are good, inherently good, because when I did get that message, I was like, oh my God. And essentially, like, even those souls, in my opinion, are good at the end of the day because they chose to bring that polarity for Earth so that we can learn and grow. However, in this experience, they embody the face of the devil. They embody the face of the devil so that they can bring hell to Earth, which is awful, right? And there's a lot to learn from that. But with that said, that's not majority of people. That's really, really, really like 1 in billions is kind of like what's coming to mind. So more than likely you and everyone you know is, like, personally at least, they're inherently good because that's the essence of who we are. The essence of who we are is love. And I believe that because that we know that we're good, when the ego is associated with something so negative, we're like, I'm not that way. I'm good. I'm not that way. Which is valid, right? Because we all are good, but we have this lack of awareness of what the ego really, really is and what it's capable of. And these people who choose to embody the face of the ego, these people who choose to be the devil in walking form, they are examples of what can happen if we do not give our ego the attention it needs. They are walking examples, and I'm sure you could think of somebody off the top of your head that has gone down in history. They are walking examples of the walking form of the devil, and they are examples of what can happen if we do not give attention to our egos in the way it needs to be. This is why when people drink alcohol and things like that, they say, oh, the demons are coming out. Yeah, because we all have inner demons. We all have inner demons, and the inner demons are the workings of the devil or the ego. It's the workings of the ego. It's the wounds within us that haven't been given love and attention. What we do is we create like an entity within us, essentially, for lack of a better word, to protect us from that wound that hasn't been given love, because we need love. And when it hasn't been given love, something needs to happen to protect us. The ego is going to protect us. So it creates something. And that entity that you create within you is going to get bigger and bigger the more and more you neglect that part of you that's screaming for your attention. And that entity can create a life of its own. It's why people do things that are unthinkable. It's why murders happen. It's why there's sexual assault, abuse. It's a lot of these things. And those are drastic examples, but other examples as well. It's why people do things that is not really them. It's these inner wounds that have created entities within them that have grown a life of its own to protect them, like multiple personalities as well. And not that all of these things are demons, but it's like we create different entities. Some can turn into what society has called a demon. I don't believe demons are these things that are, out and about, and, there's layers and layers and layers, but a lot of it is very, very much so internal. It's internal. And, when people say, oh, this thing like overtook me, I don't know how I did it. It was something within you. It was something within you that you created. And it is so necessary to start to look at ourselves honestly, so that we can stop this shit from happening. Because even on a smaller scale, when you say things to a person that you don't mean, when you say hurtful things, that is not true to who you are, because you are love, but you did create something within you that got out of hand, and that is your responsibility. That is your responsibility to tame. It absolutely is your responsibility to tame. You create it, you tame it. You create it, you tame it. But in order to tame it, you need to acknowledge. and be aware. So yeah, just back to what I was saying before, like the ego can be very ugly, but it really should be our best friend. And if we are the more reflective we are, the more that we're able to tame it and make sure that the ego's in the the passenger seat, and that you're in the driver's seat. So dismissal of individual identity. Some spiritual philosophies advocate for the dissolution of individual identity and the merging of the self with the broader universal consciousness. While this perspective highlights interconnectedness and oneness, it may disregard the importance of individuality and personal identity, which are mediated by the ego. So, talking what I was saying before, we are here to experience a sense of individuality, which is really fun. And in the spiritual community, like trying to eradicate the ego, we can't do that because that takes away. Yes, we are one. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are one, and we are all connected. And it's important to know that. Absolutely. But there's layers to it. And by eradicating the ego, we would be denying our human experience. We're here to be human right now. Like, we are spirit first, but we are here to experience this human reality and to have fun. Let your ego have fun a little bit, like in a controlled way, have it on a leash, but let it have fun. Like this outfit that I put on this morning, I looked at myself, I'm like, damn, I'm like, you look cute. Like, you look good. I got my like jewelry on that I love, and I put some makeup on today, which I don't really wear makeup. So for me, I'm like, look at me today. But did I do that for my soul? No, I did it for my ego. And that's okay because it's not harming anyone. And it's also okay because my sense of confidence and love for myself comes from within. I don't do these things to make myself feel better about myself. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's another thing that we do as humans. We are taught to seek things outside of us, cosmetic, like Botox and stuff like that. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been there. Okay. I've gotten preventative Botox, whatever the hell that even means, a couple times. I stopped about a couple years ago. I did get a couple, injections, or Botox, whatever, done a while ago. And then I realized, like, why am I doing this? Why is it, Brittany, that you really feel the need to do this? Society perpetuates, oh, do it for yourself. Like, it's okay. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself. Okay. But why do you feel the need to do it for yourself? Are you doing it for yourself because it makes you more confident? If it makes you more confident, go for it. Oh, what are you perpetuating? Oh, you're finding your confidence outside of yourself? Go for it. Go for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a skewed perception there, and it's based in the ego, and it's perpetuating this. It's perpetuating, let's seek this confidence, let's seek this love outside of me. Also too, like, with the spiritual community, oh, you need to eat a certain way, or you need this, or you need that. And we're here to enjoy the 3D. Yes, it's important to be healthy and mind, body, soul, like keep yourself healthy, but it's also important to be a fucking human. If you want to go out and have some drinks with your friends, go out and have some drinks with your friends. If you're doing it every weekend or every night because you're suppressing yourself, that's a different story. But go eat the damn pizza. You don't have to be a vegan or whatever. And I need to watch what I'm saying. Like, do what's best for you. Do what's best for you, but do it because you genuinely want to, because it's coming from the inside out. You don't need to have all of these rigid, strict rules surrounding, spirituality. And, oh, I'm not spiritual if I do this, if I do that. You're denying your human experience. And we're here to experience. We're here to experience all of it. Also, our emotions. By denying the human experience, we often deny our emotions. And this is spiritual bypassing 101. Oh, you're feeling sad. Just change your mindset. Just feel good. Block it out more. When you're blocking out these feelings and emotions, you're shoving it down and suppressing it. And that's going to take a toll on you. Your body talks to you physically, like, dis-ease. I know at one point in my life when I was really not listening to spirit, they literally had me bedridden. I had a spell of vertigo so bad for a month. When I tell you I couldn't go to the bathroom without puking because getting up to walk, I would like fall over. I was so dizzy. I couldn't drive, obviously, because I couldn't turn my head in any direction. It was the worst. As a full-grown woman, I needed my mom to come and take care of me because I couldn't. I couldn't. And they forced me into rest to start to look at myself because I was suppressing so much. Just trying to be positive, just trying to this, just trying to that. And it's like we're supposed to feel our emotions here. Again, we came here to experience all of it. We came here to experience the polarity. So don't deny yourself of that. Feel what you need to feel. Feel all parts. When you're hurt, let yourself cry. When things aren't going well for you, let yourself get angry. You know, there's a difference between feeling that and projecting that onto other people. Don't project things onto others, but give yourself the permission to feel what you're feeling. Your feelings are fucking valid. And we're taught that feeling your emotion, especially men, you know, we're taught that feeling your emotion, it makes you less of a man. Oh, don't feel. Don't feel. That looks weak. When really it takes fucking strength to go there. It takes strength to give yourself permission to feel, because it's not fucking easy. It's not fucking easy. And these intense emotions that we feel, they are essentially workings of the ego, but that's not always a bad thing. That's not always a bad thing. Again, it's what makes us human, and we are here to experience the polarity. You know, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you get cheated on. Okay, let's say you're in a relationship and you get cheated on. In spiritual discourse, it might be really easy to say like, oh, do you know what? Be grateful, because that was a blessing in disguise. You know, like you attracted that in because you don't know your self-worth. So the universe was just trying to teach you. Now you have to know your worth, and you need to just put out better energy so that you don't attract that same experience. Like, yes, it's a lesson. And while yes, part of it is true, also give yourself the permission to fucking be sad about it. Give yourself a permission to feel your fucking feelings, because that sucks. And sometimes life can be hard, and it's okay to admit that. It doesn't mean your manifestations aren't going to fucking come in, because god damn it, you're a human. That's why we're here. Don't deny your human experience. Feel, fucking feel. Even, you know, when you're on the spiritual journey, what I feel called to say too is sometimes, like, I know for me, when I was really going through the thick of it, like for about 3 months, I'd wake up crying every day. And sometimes I didn't know why. I'm like, why do I feel like this today? But I gave myself the permission to feel, because I knew that I was releasing emotions that I had suppressed for so long. I suppressed so many feelings for so fucking long that they were just dying to get out. And when I got myself to a place where I was fucking ready to feel, when I was strong enough to go there, the purge started happening. And I didn't question it. I allowed it to happen, and the freedom that has transpired since has been liberating. Literally, my life has drastically changed over the last couple of years, specifically the last year. So another part is integration and transcendence. Rather than viewing the ego as something to be rejected or transcended, integration involves acknowledging and accepting the ego's presence while cultivating self-awareness, discernment, and compassion. So I kind of was talking about this before. Integration is so necessary. Being aware of these feelings, letting yourself feel these feelings, but being aware of them. Okay, why am I feeling this way? You know, going back to the example of being cheated, give yourself the permission to feel all of those things, because your feelings are fucking valid, but it's also trying to tell you something. Okay, there's something that really feels bad, and it's as within, so without, right? Like, you know that you hold your power, you hold the power, and we shouldn't allow other people to make us, like, when other people do things, shitty things, like if somebody cheats on you, that's a projection of something within them, but we take it personal. You know what I'm saying? We take it personal. And it's easy to say don't take things personally, which is why, going back to what I was saying before, your feelings are fucking valid. But in those feelings, there's always a lesson. So let yourself feel. Let yourself be fucking human. Let yourself do what you need to do. Go to a fucking rage room. You know, your rage is also fucking sacred. As a society, we've been taught to suppress our rage. You know, men don't know how to feel their anger, and then outbursts happen, you know, where they can't control it. Women are made to feel like, you know, being angry is, you know, we get anger confused with sadness because we're made to feel like being angry is a bad emotion to have. That's just a side note. Your anger is fucking sacred. So let yourself feel that anger. But in all of these things, these really intense emotions, there are lessons, and the ego is trying to tell us something. So, you know, going back to being cheated on, like, I know I've been cheated on. And in those moments of sadness and betrayal, like, how could you do that to me? How could you do that to me? I didn't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. While all of that was true on my path, what I realized was, oh, I attracted that in because there was a piece of within me I wasn't giving love. I didn't see my self-worth. So there's something for me to learn here, and there's a piece of me to there's something that I need to tend to within myself. And when you really start to bring these parts of you to awareness, like that awareness, when I got out of the mindset of, the victim mentality, essentially, again, not taking away from the fact your feelings are valid, feel it, but through that awareness of, oh my God, I did attract this into my reality for a reason. Okay, I'm going to sit with that. That makes me really uncomfortable to admit. Or another thing, another personal example. I grew up needing to be the best at everything I did because that's the only way I received love specifically from my dad. Like I needed to be the best at everything that I did. And as a result of that, I became very, very, very competitive. And I remember when I was a kid, I wanted fame. And growing older, I never really understood why I wanted to be famous. So I got curious about it. I'm like, I know that's ego-based because everything that comes with fame, I don't really give a shit about. Really, I just want a simple life. I want love. I want a family. I want to be abundant enough to enjoy this life. I don't want to be a slave to society. I want to live for myself. I want freedom, but I don't really give a shit about fame. I got curious about it. When I brought it to my attention, okay, there's something here. Why was I seeking that? And that message came to me a while later. Sometimes when memories pop up into your head for no reason, memories just pop up, old memories pop up into your awareness for a reason. And that memory kept coming up, wanting to be famous. I'm like, why is this coming? And I was like, okay, there's something here. And fame won't love you like your mother and your father should was the lyrics of a Paris Hilton song that came across my feed one day. And it hit me. Oh my God. I was seeking love outside of myself. I needed to be the best at everything that I did. So I logically thought, if you're famous, you're the best at whatever it is you're famous for. You're the fucking best at whatever it is you're famous for. So if I become famous for whatever the fuck I become famous for, then I will be worthy of the love that I'm needing. And that was an egoic thing, my ego wanting that fame. Which is why when we try to manifest things, often in the spiritual community, manifest your dreams, manifest fame, manifest money. It's coming from ego. It's coming from fucking ego. Why do you actually seek the fame? Why do you actually seek the money? Sit with that. Fame won't love you. Money won't love you like your mother and your father should, like your partner should, whatever should. And I realized, oh my God. And when I was able to bring that to my awareness, I was able to give myself that love. I was able to give myself that love. Going back to the cheating thing as well, when I realized I attracted that in for a reason, and it's because I didn't know my self-worth. I always needed to do to receive love, and in my relationships, I always did to receive love, and it was never good enough. I was never good enough. I realized, oh my God, I've always been good enough. Just because other people didn't see my worth, it doesn't mean I'm not worth it. I need to give myself that love now. And it's when you bring these things to awareness, you can integrate it with your being, but the key is in awareness. And a lot of people are really fucking unaware. Yeah, I wrote down here, the key is awareness, separation, division. Another example coming, we look at the world today. We have politics, right side, left side. Fear-based teachings on both sides. Fear-based teachings on both fucking sides. Both sides. There's a lot of ego. A lot of these things are rooted in ego, which is what? Not rooted in truth. Because what is truth? Our soul is truth, which is where love lies. Only love is true. Fear-based teachings rooted in ego. And it creates division. There's so much division in the world. There's so much separation in the world. But again, a reflection of the internal state. People are separated from who they are. They're disconnected from who they are. And we see that reflect in the external world. I dated a police officer for a few years. We lived together. And a lot of police officers that I knew at least, were very conservative, very, very conservative. So I really was in that world for a while, really seeing their perspectives and observing. And then I also, being a teacher, going through university, being a teacher, a lot of teachers are very liberal, very liberal. So I was also immersed in that perspective for a while. And there's really good fucking people on both sides. There's really good, beautiful people on both sides. And do you know what? People on both sides are just trying to do their fucking best. They're just trying to do their best based on what they know. And a lot of people are scared. And a lot of people listen to the fear that's perpetuated. Look at the news, regardless of whatever the fucking news station you listen to, whether it's Fox, whether it's CBC, whatever the hell it is. There's so much fear perpetuated. Fear is not rooted in truth. Fear is not rooted in truth. Only love is true. Our soul, the essence of who we are, home. And most of us, we are all on the journey of coming home to self, coming back to love, home, who we are. And again, when we're unaware of this, when we're unaware that we're living from the ego, the ego's gross. The ego's gross, and we see it, and we see it in the world. I'm sure I don't need to give you examples. I'm sure you know. So number 6 here, a balanced perspective is acknowledging both limitations and potential of the ego, acknowledging the limitations and the potential of the ego. While it can contribute to self-centeredness and delusion, it also offers opportunities for self-reflection, creativity, self-actualization. By embracing the ego as an integral aspect of human psychology, individuals can cultivate greater self-understanding and inner harmony. The ego is multifaceted and an essential aspect of human psychology that is often misunderstood or oversimplified in spiritual discourse. While it is not inherently negative, its complexities require careful consideration and integration within the broader context of personal and spiritual development. By recognizing the role of the ego in mediating between the individual and the world, individuals can cultivate a more holistic understanding of themselves and their place within the universe. Again, you want the ego to be in the passenger seat. You want the ego on a leash, essentially. Like, you want to keep it on a leash. It's there to protect you, and it's there to ferociously protect you, and it's there for you to have this experience, but you don't want it in control. Going back to the mind is meant just to operate the present moment, the here and the now. Trust your intuition when it comes to the rest. Even going back to what I was saying before about many individuals unknowingly operate from their ego, driven by a complex interplay of fears, insecurities, and desires rather than genuine love and compassion. The unconscious mode of functioning often stems from deeply ingrained patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that are shaped by past experiences, societal conditioning, and cultural influences. I'm gonna go through like some examples here, like fear-based responses. The ego frequently operates from a place of fear, seeking to protect the individual from perceived threats or vulnerabilities. This fear may manifest as fear of failure, rejection, inadequacy, or loss. A beautiful bird just flying by. In response to these fears, the ego may employ defense mechanisms such as avoidance, denial, aggression, which serve to maintain a sense of control and security. I want to talk about the example of school again. Like, people really live from the ego without realizing it. Like, people are stuck in the chains of the ego, just with society in general. If we really knew our worth, we wouldn't be working a job we didn't want to work. If we really understood the abundance that we are, if we really understood who we were, we would not be living the way we're living, most people at least. Oh, we got to get a job, I got to work my life away until I retire, then I can enjoy life. Fuck that shit. Fuck that. That's all ego-based teachings. That's ego-based teachings. And most people are stuck in that cycle, and it's hard to get out. It's really hard to get out because we are made to believe that it's the best way. It's the only way. There's so many limiting beliefs, and it's nobody's fault. It's simply where society is at, and most people are stuck. They're shackled by the ego out of fear. Oh, I can't quit my job because I need X amount of money, which is why, again, manifestation is skewed. Oh, I want to manifest money. I want to manifest this. People are manifesting things outside of themselves. Oh, if I have money, then I'll be able to be free, which is ego-based. Trying to manifest money, it's wanting to protect you. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted from a lower vibration. It's not rooted in love. It's ego-based. It's fear-based. Insecurities and self-doubt. The ego is often driven by underlying insecurities and self-doubt stemming from feelings of unworthiness, inadequacy, or inferiority. Again, if we knew our freaking worth, we wouldn't be working a job. We wouldn't be working our lives away. We wouldn't be working our fucking lives away. And I know not everybody is, but majority of people on this planet are, especially in fucking North America, especially in the West. The West is the cancer of the world. You know, when colonization happened, the indigenous people hold the true fucking wisdom. They understood the importance of the land. They understood the importance of their connection with community. They understood their connection with spirit. And when colonization happened, that was ripped away and people became more and more disconnected from the earth community, from land, from who we are. And the West, you know, is really the cancer of the world. Yeah, we have the nice things, you know, you could have the cars, the bags, the this, the that. You know, when I remember going to Bali when I was in my early 20s, I went there for a month by myself. And that's when I really realized, holy shit, we are doing something wrong here. Because in Bali, I met some of the poorest people I've ever met, but genuinely some of the happiest people I've ever met. You know, the kids walking around bare feet and not a worry in the world. Not a worry in the world. People out singing. Yeah. In the West especially, we're doing it wrong. And if we knew our worth, if we were taught our worth, we wouldn't be living with stress and anxiety. It's why there's so much stress and anxiety and depression. It's our bodies and disease. It's our bodies physically trying to communicate with us. Our bodies are literally screaming at you, hey, 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 I'm dying here. I'm hurting here. Look at me. Look at me. Pay attention to me because I love you. And these are the pieces of me that need love. But we're distracted, right? We're distracted by our phones, suppression, you know, we suppress it, alcohol, drugs, suppress, spiritual bypassing. These insecurities may be rooted in past experiences of criticism, rejection, or trauma, leading individuals to seek validation, approval, or acceptance from others. The ego may engage in behaviors aimed at bolstering self-esteem or defending against perceived threats to one's sense of identity or worth. So desire and attachment. The ego is also driven by desires and attachments, which arise from a fundamental sense of lack or incompleteness. Individuals may seek external validation, success, wealth, power, or status in attempt to fulfill deeper psychological needs or alleviate existential anxieties. The ego becomes attached to particular outcomes, identities, or possessions, believing that they hold the key to happiness, fulfillment, or security. So I kind of talked about that before, you know, seeking fame, seeking money, seeking power. It's external. When I have this, then I'll get this. Backwards. It all starts within. You are whole and complete as is. You are whole and complete as is, but there's parts of you that are lost. There's parts of you that need love, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you start giving that to yourself, your world will change. You don't need anything outside yourself. In fact, you'll find that when you do get those things outside of you, you're going to find that you're still not complete. There's still something missing. And it's because nothing outside of you can fill what you need to fill, what only you can fill. So again, illusion of separation. The ego operates under the illusion of separation, perceiving oneself as distinct and separate from others and the world at large. This sense of separateness breeds competition, comparison, and conflict as individuals vie for limited resources, recognition, or superiority. The ego reinforces a sense of individuality and identity, often at the expense of genuine connection, empathy, or compassion for others. So this is why I say, like, it's fun to have this sense of individuality. It's why we're here. We're here to experience this. We're the universe experiencing ourselves in different beautiful ways, but which is why it's important to acknowledge that we are one, but it's not denying your human experience, but it's also realizing that we are all one. We are all the same. We shouldn't be competing with other people or comparing. You know, when you feel jealous of someone or you compare yourself to someone, really they're mirroring back at you what you're capable of. So when you have those feelings of jealousy, don't be ashamed. Simply acknowledge. Don't act on it. This is again where the awareness comes in. It's natural to have those feelings sometimes. sometimes, and it's okay. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But when those feelings of jealousy or comparison arise, it's sit with that. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Why am I feeling this way? And get curious about it. Get curious about it and trust that in time, the universe will give you the answers. Like when you start bringing the ego to light, these dark pieces of you to light, they're going to come one piece at a time, because if all of these dark pieces were to come at once, it would be way too overwhelming. Your mind wouldn't be able to comprehend it. You'd go fucking crazy. So it's a never-ending journey, essentially, which is why I say healing is a never-ending journey. We're always on the growth of healing and learning more, which is exciting, but it's taking it one step at a time, and it's being reflective. And if you're able to be reflective, then you will be able to bring these pieces of your subconscious, these limiting pieces, these skewed perceptions, you'll be able to bring them to light and therefore break through to make space for more. And then lack of awareness. Many individuals lack self-awareness regarding the underlying motives, beliefs, and patterns of behavior driving their actions. They may be unaware of the ways in which their ego influences their thoughts, emotions, and interactions with others. Without conscious reflection and introspection, individuals remain trapped in habitual patterns of reactivity and unconscious behavior, perpetuating cycles of suffering or dissatisfaction, which is, what I was talking about before. It's all about awareness and reflection. So, I can't stress enough the importance of self-awareness and introspection in recognizing when one is operating from the ego. I want to encourage mindfulness practices and reflection to discern ego-driven behaviors and motives. Self-awareness and introspection play crucial roles in recognizing when one is operating from the ego, fostering mindfulness and promoting personal growth. By cultivating these practices, individuals can develop greater insight to their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, discerning ego-driven patterns and motives more reflectively. So let's talk about how we can become more aware of the ego, because the key is awareness. And if people lack that awareness, then how do you make change? So for one, self-reflection. It's becoming very aware and consciously engaging in regular self-reflection practices, whether that be you want to explore your inner landscape, examine your beliefs, values, desires, and fears through introspective practices such as journaling, meditation, or contemplation. Individuals can gain clarity about the underlying motives and influences shaping their thoughts and actions. I know for me, I was raised very Catholic. I was raised very religious. And to me, religion, a lot of fear-based teachings rooted in ego. And, when I really became reflective, I started questioning it. Everything I was taught, religion is an example, but I eventually got to a place where I was questioned everything I was taught. I'm like, does this really resonate with me? Or is this just what I convinced myself to be true? And when you really start to evaluate and reflect on each and every piece of you, you'll be able to start to bring more to your awareness. It's really just getting curious about who you are, today. What about you is a mask? What about you is truth? I want to talk about religion. I believe that people within religion, especially Christianity, Christianity was how the message came through to me because I was raised Catholic, so I think it's how I best understood it. But I see this in all religion. People are worshiping a false god without realizing it. In Christianity, they talk about don't worship false gods. You don't want to worship any false gods, but they are worshiping a false god without realizing it. Jesus, his name was not actually Jesus. His name was Yeshua. Yeshua was not actually white. First of all, that's a mask. That's a complete mask. And a lot of Yeshua's teachings have been completely misconstrued. There's a complete falsity. There's a complete skewed perception around his teachings. Yeshua actually was not for religion because he understood that you should not be worshiping anything outside of yourself. And what does religion do? Christianity, they're worshiping this false god. They're worshiping this man, this white man named Jesus. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. It's fear-based teachings. They're worshiping a false god, which is ego-based, which is an extension of the devil. They're worshiping the devil without realizing it. And I know that can be pretty controversial, but I have a whole video on it. So check out my YouTube, if you're interested in that, or it's on the podcast as well. And then I have another episode talking about what Christianity could be with a friend of mine. So definitely listen to those if you want me to, if you're curious about me diving deeper into that specifically. But yeah, it is really questioning everything. So meditation, mindfulness meditation, just like really being more present, really being more present, observing your egoic reactions. So like through mindful practices, individuals learn to observe egoic reactions such as defensiveness, resistance, attachment, and judgment. By acknowledging these reactions without identification or condemnation, individuals create space for deeper self-understanding and compassionate self-acceptance. Compassionate self-acceptance. When you really observe these reactions, I'm going to go back to right side, left side politics. Best believe people on the right judge people on the left and vice versa. I'm not saying these are bad people, but when you're noticing you yourself judge someone, sit with that. It's bringing these things to awareness and acknowledging it. It's not thinking you're better than and judging like, oh, I have it right here. I have it right. They're wrong. Love doesn't take sides. Love does not take sides. The essence of your soul is love. The essence of your soul is love, interconnectedness, not sides. Love does not choose sides. So check yourself in those instances when jealousy comes up, when judgment comes up. Check yourself with compassion, knowing that it's there for a reason, trying to guide you back home to self. But it's these feelings, they're again rooted in ego. They're not rooted in truth. Noticing your triggers, developing self-awareness involves recognizing triggers, specific situations, events, or interactions that act ego-driven responses. By identifying triggers, individuals can explore the underlying beliefs and emotions fueling their reactions, fostering greater emotional regulation and resilience. When you're triggered, sit with it. Don't react right away. Sit with it. I'm not telling you to be a doormat and take less than what you deserve. You need to have boundaries for yourself, but really, you can have boundaries and still come from a loving place. When you act on the ego, it's choosing to, it's temptation. You want to get religious, talking about religion, that's temptation. That's the workings of the devil right there. So just really notice your triggers. That was really big for me. When I noticed I'd get triggered, I'm like, okay, there's something here. There's something here. She's screaming at me. My soul is screaming at me through my ego right now. What part of me needs love that needs attention? What part of me needs love and needs attention? Exploring core beliefs. This kind of goes to what I was saying before about questioning all parts about you. Introspection allows individuals to explore core beliefs and narratives that shape their sense of self and worldview. By examining the origins and implications of these beliefs, individuals can challenge rigid or limiting perspectives, opening themselves to new possibilities and interpretations. Do I believe this because I was raised this way? Do I believe this because this was perpetuated in school, in society? Or do I believe this because it actually resonates with my being? Cultivating compassion, self-awareness, and introspection facilitate the cultivation of self-compassion and empathy towards oneself and others. By recognizing the common underlying human experiences, individuals develop greater tolerance for imperfection and vulnerability, fostering authentic connections and mutual understanding. On your healing journey, eventually you'll get to a place where you understand the actions of others more, and because you're able to see it from a greater perspective, you're able to have compassion. That's how you can really start to forgive, but it starts here first. It really starts here first, and you have to get there first. You have to get there first. You have to see yourself deeper. You have to be compassionate for yourself more. You have to forgive yourself more. And when you're able to do that, then you'll find it a lot easier to forgive other people and to understand why people do the heinous things they do, why people have treated you the way they've treated you. This is not me saying you should accept their treatment, but it is seeing people as human and acknowledging that as human, we are limited, and it's okay. It's okay. It's a part of the reason why we're here. And then integration and growth, self-awareness and introspection serve as catalysts for personal growth and transformation, fostering integration of desperate aspects of the self and alignment with deeper values and aspirations. By embracing the complexities of the human experience, individuals navigate the terrain of the ego with greater wisdom, compassion, and authenticity. So again, going back to that integration, which is really, really necessary. So, talking about some of the dangers of the unchecked ego, which I've touched on earlier. So I'm just going to kind of talk through it quickly here. Negative thought patterns, unchecked egoic tendencies often give rise to negative thought patterns characterized by self-criticism, pessimism. The ego may fixate on perceived shortcomings, failures, or inadequacies, fueling feelings of unworthiness, insecurity, and despair. These negative thought patterns can distort perceptions of reality, reinforcing a skewed and debilitating self-image. Harmful behaviors, as well. Unchecked egos can drive individuals to engage in harmful behaviors that undermine their well-being and the well-being of others. Ego-driven actions may include manipulation, deceit, aggression, and exploitation as individuals prioritize personal gain, power, or validation at the expense of others. Such behaviors can erode trust, fracture relationships, and perpetuate cycles of conflict and suffering. The manifestation of inner demons or negative entities, which I talked about before, when you're wounded, the ego creates an entity within you to protect you, and you can manifest that to continue to grow, and it shapes a skewed perception. It creates falsities within your mind, and these things created within you take on a life form of its own and really convinces you of things that are not rooted in truth. And this, can really get out of hand in situations. Again, this is why we see the heinous acts that we see on this earth, as, I said before. Spiritual disconnection. The unchecked ego can hinder spiritual growth and connection by reinforcing a sense of separation, alienation, and disconnection from higher truths or transcendent realities. Ego-driven individuals may prioritize materialistic pursuits, egoic desires, and superficial gratifications over deeper spiritual inquiries and authentic connection with the divine or sacred. The spiritual disconnection can contribute to feelings of emptiness, existential angst, and spiritual crisis. We need to do better. We need to do better as a society. We, as a society, have not been taught this. We have not been taught this, which is why the world is in the despair that it is in, why people are in so much despair. It is our responsibility now to do better. People are waking up to this now. And, before it'd be like, oh, trigger warning this, trigger warning that. Let's not look at our triggers. Let's shy away from our triggers. That's the ego. It is time to rise, and it is time to do better. It is time to be reflective. It is time to be more inquisitive. So other things that you can do to heal, which I kind of talked about it before, like meditation, therapy. Therapy is such a great way to start talking about these things, talking about the things like within you that maybe you don't understand, things that maybe you experienced as a child. Time is not linear the way we're experiencing it. So the trauma that you experienced as a kid, if you shoved it down, if you were taught to shove down your emotions and not feel things as a kid, or whatever it is that you've gone through as a kid, time is not linear. So that part of you still needs that love and attention now. So it is your job to give that love and attention to the little child within you now, because that little child within you often comes out as an adult. That's why full-grown adults, you see them have temper tantrums in Starbucks, in coffee shops. It's because it's the little kid in them that wasn't given the love and the attention that it needed and deserved at that time. But it is our responsibility to do that inner work now. So therapy is a great way. Self-inquiry, I talked about before, spiritual practices, mind-body techniques, that help you connect with your body, yoga, tai chi, things like such as breath work, just to really get yourself into the present moment, to get yourself into the body, to get yourself out of the mind, and community and support as well. Community and support. Often on the spiritual journey, we isolate, and that's another thing. That's the workings of the ego. Just because people don't necessarily fully understand you, it doesn't mean you need to isolate yourself. There's actually a lot of danger in isolation. Community is necessary. We are connected. We are all one. We need community. We need connection. It is necessary. So do not block yourself out to that. And there's something about being witnessed in your emotions, being witnessed in your anger, being witnessed in your emotions. That's very fucking healing as well. And that's something that we are also very disconnected from. We feel like, oh, I can't cry in front of other people. It's something to be ashamed of. I can't be angry in front of other people. It's something to be ashamed of, which is, again, the workings of the ego. It's not rooted in truth. At the end of the day, all you need is love. All you need is love. All we need is love. At the end of the day, we are all on the journey of coming home to self. We are all on the journey of coming home to who we are, which is love. And remembering that. So that's it. That's my deep dive into the ego. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this. This definitely took some time and effort. So I hope you appreciated it. I hope you have a better understanding of the ego. I hope you have a better understanding of the ego. And I love you. I love you. All you need is love. And until next time, bye guys.
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion.